All right, if you follow me on TikTok or Threads, you know I'm doing a series of world history videos. And right now I'm between Chapter 4 in the Traditions and Encounters textbook on ancient India and Chapter 5 in that textbook on ancient China. So I still got a long way to go to even get up to the Silk Roads, much less the Soviet Union or anything close to the present. But this is a world geography video here. And place that I'm fascinated with, Central Asia. That in the picture is the Panj River along the Afghanistan-Tajikistan border. On my bucket list of places to visit. And not that far, maybe only a couple hundred miles from Samarkand, Uzbekistan, which was a major trade capital along the Silk Roads between China and the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago. I told you there'd be history in there. Also, this river was a border between British India, which included Pakistan, and the Russian-controlled, I call them northern stands. So basically, Russia pushed all the way south by 1907 to the Panj River, and British India almost pushed that far north, and Afghanistan was kind of a buffer state. So here's a map of expansion. Oh, I told you there'd be some history. Russia 1795 to 1907, expanding southward through the stands. Meanwhile, British India expanding northward up through 1907, and they almost meet. This is a little bit east of where the picture was. Picture's more over here on the Panji River, but you get the point. So actually the Pamir Highway, which is also in Tajikistan, was to connect Kyrgyzstan down into Afghanistan, and that was so Russians could get goods really quickly down to this very spot that we were looking at on the Panj River, just in case they needed supplies for a war with British India. This is called the Great Game Era, the era around late 19th century and into the early 1900s when the British and the Russians were basically spying on each other. And this was a pretty important border. Like I say, today it's the Tajikistan-Afghanistan border. To say the least, I would not cross the border. I would stay in Tajikistan if I ever did this on a bicycle. A few more pictures of the river and the road. This just looks like a neat area. Talk about middle of nowhere. And also cool geography. There's the Panji River on a map, and it flows into the Amu Darya River, and that river was also known as the Oxus by the Greeks. And it's legendary that Alexander the Great and some of his army, like 300s BCE, got out there. So remember, they conquered Alexander the Great. I haven't gotten to this in my world history series, but they conquered the Persian Achaemenid Empire, which was in here. And some of them got to Bactria, which is modern Afghanistan. And some of them got way up in this area on the legendary Oxus River. And I believe there's people of Greek descent in here to this day. Then the river dries up in the desert today, but it used to reach the Aral Sea, which is not the Caspian Sea. It's even smaller, another inland nothing. I mean, the geography here is crazy. And then here's Tajikistan and the Pamir Highway from Kyrgyzstan. There's Kashgar, China. A little bit of the Silk Roads route goes through some of these highest mountains in the world, then through this river valley, then up through Samarkand on its way through. But definitely a place on my bucket list. I was thinking I could bike from Samarkand down to the Panj River Valley and maybe get up into these really high mountains a bit too and turn around. That would be a really cool trip. Just map dreaming here. It's a bucket list thing I can show you better on this map of the world, which I love. So the area I'm talking about is on the Afghanistan-Tajikistan border. So yep, British India, Russia-controlled stands. So many of these stands were Russian-controlled all the way until the breakup of the Soviet Union. So it's definitely some interesting recent history, as well as that this was the Silk Roads all the way from Xi'an, China, over here to the Mediterranean. There's Istanbul, Turkey, former Constantinople. We had the Roman Empire here, and this is 2,000 years ago. And then you had the Parthian Empire in Iran, and the Kushan Empire kind of in here, and then the Han Empire over here. That was 2,000 years ago. Silk Roads kind of connecting all this. But this area in here has always fascinated me. Like, you had the Greeks get here, and sometimes the Chinese try to get here. I call this the land between the empires, but it is on my bucket list to see Samarkand and that whole area. Woohoo!